Chosen one, stop what you are doing and stabilize your breath, because what is happening around you right now is not random, not coincidence, not emotional overreaction, and not spiritual fatigue. This moment was synchronized with precision, arranged beyond the reach of algorithms, scheduled by a frequency that only responds to endurance under pressure. You were pulled here because there is a disturbance in the spiritual realm concerning you. And it is not a disturbance of failure, but of astonishment. There has been a reaction in realms you cannot see, triggered by something you carry, something you refused to drop, something inside your attitude that did not fracture when everything around you suggested it should have collapsed. You are not here by casual curiosity. You were escorted here because you are being observed under a rare classification. And since you have arrived, receive this interruption with stillness and with intention. You have entered the chosen code channel, a place where transmissions are delivered to those who recognize the signal within their own spirit. If you have not already aligned yourself with this frequency, secure your place here by subscribing, not as a gesture of support, but as an acknowledgement that you recognize the pattern forming around your life, and that you understand this is only the beginning of what you are meant to decode. There has been a pressure building inside you lately that is difficult to explain to those around you. You have noticed that situations that once would have broken your composure now meet a version of you that responds with quiet steadiness, and this calm has unsettled people. You have felt the weight of silent tests, conversations that felt like traps disguised as casual dialogue, moments where others expected you to snap, defend, or collapse into frustration. Yet something inside you remained unshaken, almost detached, almost observant, as if you were watching your own life from a higher vantage point. You have also experienced a strange heaviness that arrives at night, especially in the hours when the world is quiet. Your body grows tired, but your mind feels alert, scanning memories, replaying conversations, analyzing tones, searching for hidden meaning behind interactions. Sometimes you wake up abruptly, heart beating with no visible cause, sensing that something has shifted even though nothing around you appears different. You have felt moments where emotions try to surge through you like a storm, yet they stop at the surface, as if they are waiting for permission you refuse to give. There have been days where you felt surrounded by noise, by opinions, by subtle disrespect masked as humor, and yet you held your posture. You did not argue. You did not chase validation. You did not defend your worth with noise. And because of that, some people became uncomfortable around you. You noticed their eyes searching your reactions, waiting for a crack in your composure. You noticed how certain individuals tried to provoke you with subtle jabs, passive remarks, or calculated silence. And while part of you wondered if you were becoming emotionally numb, another part of you felt a growing internal authority that you could not explain. You questioned whether you were becoming cold or distant. You wondered if your patience meant you were suppressing something unhealthy. You questioned why your tolerance for drama suddenly dropped, while your tolerance for solitude increased. And what confused you the most was the strange mixture of exhaustion and strength existing at the same time, like carrying invisible armor that protects you but weighs heavily on your shoulders. You are not losing your emotional depth. You are not becoming disconnected from humanity. You are not suppressing your feelings. It is not emotional numbness. It is emotional mastery forming under divine supervision. It is not detachment. It is elevation. It is not exhaustion. It is the recalibration that happens when a spirit learns to hold power without leaking it through reaction. It is not loneliness. It is strategic separation from frequencies that cannot travel where you are being prepared to stand. It is not confusion. It is the dissolving of old identity layers that were built to survive chaos, but cannot operate within the authority being installed inside you now. You believed strength meant speaking louder, defending quicker, reacting faster. But strength in your assignment operates through restraint. It operates through stillness that frustrates chaos because chaos feeds on movement, feeds on reaction, feeds on emotional leakage. Your attitude has shifted from survival to observation, from defending your peace to becoming peace itself. And this transformation has triggered attention in spiritual realms. Because attitude is the signature that reveals rank. Words can be rehearsed, actions can be performed, but attitude under pressure exposes spiritual architecture. Your refusal to collapse emotionally during silent battles has sent signals upward and downward simultaneously. This is why your life feels like it is under microscopic review. Spirit recognizes spirit, and authority recognizes composure. Light does not announce itself with noise. It stabilizes itself through endurance. Darkness does not attack weakness. It studies strength. And when light begins to stabilize inside a human vessel, it creates a ripple that disturbs unseen territories. You have been feeling targeted not because you are fragile, but because your attitude has revealed durability that threatens, structures built on emotional instability. There are spiritual laws unfolding around you that operate, regardless of your awareness. One of these laws states that light exposes everything it touches, including the hidden motives of people who were comfortable around your previous emotional reactions. Another law states that when a vessel is being upgraded for higher assignment, everything attached to its old capacity begins to loosen and fall away. Relationships built on shared trauma begin to dissolve. Conversations built on gossip begin to feel suffocating. Environments that once felt normal begin to feel energetically heavy, like wearing clothes that no longer fit your body. You have wondered why certain connections suddenly feel forced. You have questioned why people you once laughed with now drain your energy after short interactions. You have noticed that some individuals seem irritated by your calmness, almost as if your composure exposes something they cannot hide within themselves. This is not social awkwardness. It is not personality change. It is spiritual filtration occurring in real time. Your attitude has become a mirror, and mirrors do not comfort those who avoid self-reflection. Understand this carefully. Heaven does not measure you by your victories during easy seasons. Heaven measures posture during silent battles. The astonishment surrounding you is not based on what you achieved publicly, but on what you maintained privately. You maintained respect when disrespect hovered around you. You maintained patience when provocation circled you. You maintained internal discipline when emotional shortcuts tempted you. And that level of internal control has activated observation from realms that track endurance as currency. At this exact moment, there are forces attempting to interpret your stillness as weakness, because stillness confuses systems that rely on predictable emotional patterns. But stillness is the throne where authority sits before it speaks. Your silence has been louder than arguments. Your restraint has been more powerful than confrontation. Your attitude has communicated a language that bypasses human understanding and registers directly in spiritual territories. Right now, to anchor this alignment and to mark your recognition of this transmission, I need you to place a declaration in the comment section. Do not type it casually. Type it as a signal, as confirmation that you understand what is unfolding around you. The phrase is, "My attitude did not bow." When you write those words, you are not speaking to this platform. You are placing a marker in spiritual record that you recognize your endurance is not accidental. but assigned. There is another layer you must understand, and it is delicate but powerful. Your attitude has not only protected you from external chaos, it has also prevented internal corruption. Many individuals are given opportunities to rise but collapse under emotional arrogance, bitterness, or the need to prove superiority. Your calmness has acted as insulation, preventing power from distorting your character before it is fully entrusted to you. This is why your journey has felt slower than others. Speed is often granted to those carrying lighter responsibility. Depth requires pressure, patience, and prolonged observation. The spiritual realm does not rush vessels that are being prepared to carry influence. That alters environments. You are not being trained to survive storms. You are being trained to become the atmosphere that determines whether storms can even form around you. And attitude is the climate controller of spiritual authority. Without stable attitude, power becomes destruction. With stable attitude, power becomes restoration. There have been moments recently where you felt an urge to react, to finally express frustration, to release everything you have been holding internally. And each time, something inside you paused you, not through fear, but through a quiet knowing that reacting would collapse something being built within you. That pause is not suppression. That pause is governance. That pause is the installation of spiritual leadership inside your emotional system. There is also a reason your dreams have become more vivid or symbolic lately. Your subconscious is processing layers of identity reconstruction, while your conscious mind is learning restraint. You may have noticed dreams involving standing in unfamiliar places, observing events instead of participating, or witnessing scenes where you are calm while others are chaotic. These are not random neurological discharges. They are symbolic rehearsals for authority positions. Your spirit is being conditioned to hold without panic. Another spiritual law is activating around you now, and it states that when an individual demonstrates emotional sovereignty, they are gradually separated from environments that operate through manipulation. Because manipulation cannot function without emotional hooks, your calmness has been cutting invisible cords that others did not realize they were using to access your energy. This is why some people have grown distant without clear conflict. Cords do not always snap with noise. Sometimes they dissolve through non-participation. And this is where the astonishment intensifies. Your endurance has not only protected you, it has begun to dismantle systems around you that relied on your previous reactions. To maintain control, the reason you feel observed, tested, and sometimes spiritually pressured is because every time you refuse to bow emotionally, you are rewriting agreements that were silently established in your past. You are breaking generational patterns that expected you to respond with anger, fear, or self-doubt. And when generational patterns break, they echo through timelines you cannot see. There is a presence of heightened attention around you now because your next phase requires an individual who can stand in influence without absorbing negativity from those they guide, correct, or encounter. Your attitude is being measured because attitude determines whether authority becomes healing or harm. And what has been recorded about you in recent seasons has triggered a response that can only be described as the moment when celestial observers lean closer, not out of suspicion, but out of astonished recognition that you maintained posture during pressures specifically designed to see if you would fracture at the exact point where most candidates historically fracture, at the exact point where most candidates historically surrender their composure and trade their assignment for temporary emotional relief. You did not choose relief. You chose alignment, even when you did not have language to explain why restraint felt safer than release. That single decision repeated across multiple hidden battles, has rewritten spiritual calculations regarding you. You must understand that astonishment in higher realms is not emotional surprise, as humans experience it. It is recognition of rarity. It is the moment when a pattern expected to collapse instead stabilizes under pressure. Your attitude has demonstrated a resistance to corruption. That cannot be taught through instruction alone. It can only be proven through sustained exposure to disappointment, betrayal, misunderstanding, and silent warfare. And you have been exposed repeatedly, sometimes in subtle doses, sometimes in overwhelming waves. Yet you held an internal line that many around you could not see, but it was there, anchored deep beneath your reactions. There were moments when you felt misunderstood to the point where explaining yourself felt exhausting, and you chose silence, not because you lacked words, but because you sensed that certain conversations were traps disguised as opportunities for clarity. You began to notice that some individuals did not seek understanding. They sought reaction, and reaction would have placed you back into cycles you were being escorted out of. Your refusal to perform emotionally has confused people who only knew how to measure connection through visible expression. But connection in your assignment is shifting from emotional visibility to spiritual resonance. It is not that you do not feel deeply. It is that your feelings are no longer allowed to control your direction. It is not that you have become distant. It is that your spirit has stepped forward and your emotions are learning to follow rather than lead. It is not suppression. It is hierarchy being restored within your internal world. Your spirit is reclaiming the throne that survival instincts once occupied. There is also something you have been sensing, but perhaps have not fully trusted. You have felt moments where you instinctively knew not to respond to certain messages, not to attend certain gatherings, not to share certain details about your life. You may have questioned whether you were becoming overly cautious or antisocial, but this is not paranoia. This is discernment sharpening. When your assignment begins to crystallize, information about you becomes sensitive currency in spiritual ecosystems. Not everyone who smiles at you carries alignment with your elevation. Some carry curiosity, some carry comparison. Some carry unconscious resistance to transformation because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your attitude has been acting as a filter, preventing you from oversharing your vulnerability in environments that would misuse it. Vulnerability is sacred, but sacred things require guarded containers, and you are becoming a container that cannot leak prematurely. This is why you sometimes feel a quiet resistance when conversations begin to drift into areas where you once spoke freely. Your silence in those moments is not awkwardness. It is spiritual intelligence, protecting unformed aspects of your next chapter. There is another rhythm unfolding around you, one that is affecting your physical sensations. You may have noticed sudden waves of fatigue that arrive without clear physical cause, followed by bursts of mental clarity or emotional steadiness that feel almost unnatural compared to your past patterns. This is the recalibration of how your nervous system holds spiritual authority. Power requires a stable vessel, and stability is built through cycles of pressure and release that restructure your internal tolerance for intensity. You may also have noticed that you recover from emotional disturbances faster than before. Situations that would have lingered in your mind for days now dissolve within hours, sometimes within minutes. This is not avoidance. This is emotional processing becoming more efficient, because your spirit has begun intercepting negativity before it embeds itself deeply in your psyche. Your system is learning to metabolize emotional toxins with precision, rather than absorbing them as identity. And here is the deeper revelation that many never reach. Your attitude has not only astonished observers in light, it has disrupted observers in darkness. Darkness studies endurance because endurance signals the emergence of influence that cannot be manipulated through fear or validation withdrawal. You may have noticed that certain conflicts appear without clear origin, as if tension forms around you without direct provocation. This is because when an individual stops reacting predictably, systems built on emotional predictability begin to malfunction. Malfunction creates agitation. Agitation seeks to restore old patterns. And when old patterns cannot be restored, they escalate attempts to provoke emotional regression. This is why some challenges in your life have felt repetitive, almost scripted, as if different people delivered the same type of test wearing different faces. These are not random repetitions. These are calibration sequences designed to see if your attitude remains stable under familiar pressure. Each time you responded with composure instead of collapse, a gate closed behind you. And gates that close spiritually do not reopen through nostalgia or emotional persuasion. Your old life is not fading because you failed it. Your old life is dissolving because it cannot house the structure being built inside you. Assignments of influence require environments that do not fracture under your frequency. You are being relocated energetically before you are relocated physically, emotionally, and socially. Relocation in spirit always precedes relocation in circumstance. You have also experienced a subtle grief that you have not fully expressed. Not grief tied to a single person or event, but a quiet mourning of who you used to be, of how simple things once felt, of how easily you once connected without discernment. This grief is sacred. It is the shedding of innocence that made you vulnerable to energies you are no longer permitted to host. It is not regression, it is transition. The chrysalis always appears still from the outside, but inside, entire structures dissolve so new anatomy can form. It is not loss. It is transformation. It is not abandonment. It is reassignment. It is not loneliness. It is recalibration of your relational ecosystem. It is not emotional shutdown. It is emotional refinement. It is not distance. It is elevation into spaces where your presence becomes medicine, rather than participation in dysfunction. There is also a timing mechanism unfolding that you must sense carefully. When attitude stabilizes at the level you are approaching, acceleration begins quietly. Opportunities, connections, and responsibilities will begin to appear, but they will not announce themselves as grand or dramatic. They will appear disguised as small invitations, subtle conversations, unexpected moments where your calm presence shifts the emotional temperature of an entire environment. You may not even notice your influence at first because it will feel natural to you, but others will notice. Some will feel safe around you without understanding why. Others will feel exposed around you without understanding why. Both reactions are indicators that your spiritual atmosphere is expanding. This is also why your tolerance for superficial interaction has decreased. Your spirit has become allergic to empty exchange. Words without intention now feel heavy. Relationships without growth now feel suffocating. Activities without purpose now feel draining. This is not arrogance. This is energetic efficiency. Your system is being trained to conserve energy for assignments that require depth, rather than dispersion. You may have noticed that time feels different lately. Days blur together while moments of clarity feel stretched, almost suspended. This is the sensation of alignment recalibrating your perception of urgency. When you are moving according to assignment, time stops feeling like something you chase and begins feeling like something that bends around your obedience to inner instruction. And there is something else you must anchor deeply into your awareness. Your attitude has been communicating loyalty to divine instruction. Even when divine instruction was silent, loyalty during silence is the highest form of trust. Many remain devoted when they receive constant signs, constant confirmation, constant emotional reassurance. But you remained steady during seasons where answers felt delayed, where guidance felt subtle, where progress felt invisible. That level of loyalty signals readiness for instruction that arrives without explanation. Instruction that requires movement based on knowing rather than evidence. Right now, there is a strengthening occurring around your decision-making instincts. You will begin to sense clarity faster, sometimes instantly, about situations that previously required extended analysis. Do not question this clarity. It is the reward of endurance. It is the sharpening of spiritual reflex. Reflex does not replace wisdom. It becomes wisdom that moves quickly. You are also entering a phase where your words will begin carrying increased weight. Even when you speak casually, conversations that once felt ordinary will begin producing unexpected impact. People will remember sentences you barely recall saying. Advice you offer unintentionally will linger in others' minds long after the conversation ends. This is because authority has begun embedding itself into your voice through the stability of your attitude. And this is where caution must intertwine with awareness. Increased authority attracts increased observation. Not all observation comes with celebration. Some observation comes with silent comparison, hidden envy, or unconscious projection. Your composure must remain consistent, not performative, not defensive, but anchored, because the same calmness that astonished heavenly watchers also unsettles systems that rely on emotional volatility to maintain influence. You will notice that as your internal authority grows, external validation may decrease temporarily. This is intentional. Authority built on validation becomes fragile. Authority built on internal confirmation becomes unshakable. You are being trained to move without applause, to remain centered without recognition, to maintain posture without audience. And when recognition eventually arrives, it will not destabilize you because your identity will not be anchored in it. There is an invisible mark forming around your presence. It is not visible to physical sight, but it is registered in spiritual perception as stability under pressure. This mark does not protect you from challenge. It protects you from collapse during challenge. It signals to allies you have not met yet. It signals to assignments that require emotional architecture strong enough to hold others. Without absorbing their chaos, you may begin noticing that strangers open up to you unexpectedly, sharing personal struggles within moments of interaction. This is not coincidence. Stable attitudes create safe frequencies. People unconsciously recognize safety when they encounter individuals who do not react impulsively, judge prematurely, or exploit vulnerability. But remember, safety does not require accessibility to everyone. Even sanctuaries have gates. You are approaching a threshold where your calmness will begin shaping environments before you even speak. And this shift is delicate because it requires you to maintain humility while carrying authority. Pride is subtle at this level. Pride does not always announce itself through arrogance. Sometimes pride appears as silent superiority, as internal comparison, as the belief that your restraint makes you beyond human struggle. Guard against that illusion. Your power comes from obedience, not from personal perfection. There is also a restructuring happening in how you experience conflict. Conflict will begin revealing itself earlier, through subtle energetic signals before visible confrontation occurs. You may sense tension in a room before words are exchanged. You may feel discomfort during conversations that appear polite on the surface. Trust these signals. Your spirit is learning to read atmospheres the way your eyes read expressions, because soon, very soon, you will be placed in situations where your ability to remain emotionally sovereign will determine whether entire dynamics escalate into chaos or dissolve into clarity. And the astonishment surrounding you is building toward a moment where you will be tested, not through direct attack, not through visible confrontation, but through a scenario where everything around you will attempt to pull you back into an old emotional reflex, and the outcome of that moment will